Week 1 was brutal, ladies and gentlemen. Top to bottom, we have injuries. Not only do we have injuries, but we have some pretty big changes with the overall usage of these players. So I want to go through, I want to look at some real fantasy football teams and give you realistic advice on waiver wire and trade moves that we could potentially make to hopefully, quote unquote, save our teams from this point. Now, we are going to go over and take a look at Manny's team first, saying, hey, Mason, we appreciate your grind. 10-team happy BR, 6-point quarterback passing touchdown. Roster is position limited, can only roster 4 wide receivers, 4 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, etc. Okay, well, my man, thank you so much for being a member of the flock. Going to be really happy to go through and look into this. But I do want to at least cover, I at least want to talk about for, a second, the overall thought process in having roster limits with your team. If you are sitting here and we have roster limits where you can only roster, say, 2 quarterbacks, if that's the case, I don't like it. I would rather us have actual control and some actual flexibility on what we can do with our roster. Of course, it is what it is. Now, if this is what your commissioner really wanted and we can't convince him to change, then we're going to be dealing with it with this season. But I would recommend going forward, my friend, to try to get in the league or try to convince the commissioner to let you do whatever the hell you want, right? Build the team that you want. But this is a team that has Garrett Wilson, so we definitely have to dive into this. But I'm sorry to cut this off, Manny, real quick. I see in the live chat people asking how to get this done. So Manny's a member of the flock here. He is a new member of the flock, flockfantasy.com. Probably heard me mention this in a couple of videos today, but if you sign up to flockfantasy.com, where you can find my updated top 150 rankings, we have Garrett Wilson updated, of course. I actually just posted a video on flockfantasy.com talking about our updated thought process with Garrett Wilson, but also all our premium content, all the premium content rankings of all your favorite fantasy football creators. And nonetheless, yeah, if you go sign up with promo code FLOCK, they're going to go and actually take 30% off any of your any subscription. And on top of that, promo code FLOCK in the Mother Flocker tier, you will get your team broken down by yours truly in a podcast. Just make sure you join the Discord on flockfantasy.com and send your team in the roster submissions tab. If you join through flockfantasy.com, it will link your flockfantasy.com account with your Discord account, and you should be able to unlock this channel and have me look at your teams. But anyway, going to go through and dive into this team here, and thank you again, my friends. So first thing is quarterback. We are sitting with Lamar as well as Jared Goff. Now, full transparency, Lamar Jackson is one of my most drafted quarterbacks this year. If you look at all my underdog drafts, I spent more money on Lamar Jackson than almost anybody else at this point. And I specifically really like Lamar Jackson in a 4-point passing touchdown league. The reason being is with Lamar, I still stand by the fact that I think the passing volume is not really going to be there in Baltimore. We are drafting Lamar Jackson for his rushing upside. And similar to what we have with like Justin Fields per se, the rushing upside is going to matter much more in that league with 4 points per passing touchdown than 6 points per passing touchdown. I'm still obviously happy. I'm still obviously fine to have Lamar Jackson here, maybe just a little bit less advantageous. And then, yeah, Jared Goff obviously is a great QB2 to have. And in some very rare instances, since it's a 6-point passing touchdown format, if Lamar has like a horrendous matchup and Jared Goff has a great one, I could see you starting Goff over Lamar, specifically in this format. Now, going over to running back, we're sitting with Josh Jacobs and Dameon Pierce. Week 1, pretty tough for Dameon Pierce. I thought he was going to see every single touch out of this backfield. I thought you were going to have a pretty nice role in Houston. Obviously, the main concern being that this is a pretty bad offense overall. But now, with that being said, with Dameon Pierce, this is a running back that split the backfield 3 ways. Not only did you have Devin Singletary, but you had a third back in here in Houston. Not looking great for Dameon Pierce going forward. We do have Deion Jackson. We have Jonathan Taylor down there as well. So overall with this team, I think the running back position's going to be good going forward. Really, it comes down to, okay, do we want to be starting Dameon Pierce or David Montgomery? Let me double check. I believe this is going to be a half PPR format. Yes, this is a half PPR league. So here I don't necessarily think that we need to go through and say to sell Montgomery as I possibly would have been in a full PPR format. And honestly, if I'm going to go ahead and pull up my running back rankings here, literally just made these a second ago, and the video will come out tomorrow. But I currently have David Montgomery at RB16 and Dameon Pierce at RB18. Right now, you just have so many more points scored in Detroit where I actually probably would go ahead and add David Montgomery into the starting lineup over Dameon Pierce. Not going to sell Pierce by any means. I don't really think you're going to get anything for him at this point. But can everybody please let me know in the live chat this week, you have Dameon Pierce going up against the Colts, and you have the Detroit Lions going up against Seattle. Please let me know, who would you rather start this week? Would you rather start Dameon Pierce or David Montgomery in a half PPR format? Okay, now going over to wide receiver, we were sitting pretty. We were in a phenomenal situation. We had Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Garrett Wilson. We were super comfortable. We were straight up chilling here. Now, with that being said, now it's going to be a little bit of a tougher situation with Garrett Wilson. If you look at the implied team total from the New York Jets this next week, they have him at 16 points. Obviously, super tough matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, so that does make some sense, but nonetheless, will be hard to be as excited about this wide receiver room as we would have been previously. Still, we have two elite level wide receivers here. I think Wilson falls down to be more so like a mid wide receiver 2 in our rest of season rankings. And then we have DeAndre Hopkins. Hopkins looked pretty good. Hopkins commanded some volume this week. Now, going over to tight end, we have Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, he was fine week 1. Obviously, pretty much every single tight end in fantasy football was bad. We have to start 2 tight ends, as you were mentioning previously. But still, I think if we're already making the bet on Lamar, especially with Andrews missing week 1, I'm expecting that Mark Andrews is probably going to be playing week 2 here, my man. So if you wanted to go through and if you wanted to make a 2-for-1 deal where we could potentially get back Mark Andrews to stack with Lamar Jackson, I think that could make sense, specifically because this is a format where you can only start or only roster 4 wide receivers, right? So if you can only roster 4 wide receivers here, we know we're never going to drop Jefferson. We're never going to drop St. Brown. We're never going to drop Garrett Wilson. We're probably never going to drop DeAndre Hopkins. So you don't even have the possibility of going out there and making waiver wire moves. You can never even look at someone like Puka if he's interesting off the waiver wire. So generally in this type of format, I would be interested in going through and making a 2-for-1 deal where if we could trade like Evan Ingram and DeAndre Hopkins to get a long-term upgrade at tight end, go get someone like Mark Andrews, preferably to pair up with Lamar Jackson. I think that could make a lot of sense. Or maybe if you wanted to go for a better quarterback than Lamar, specifically because this is a 6-point passing touchdown format, right? Like I said, 4-point passing touchdown league. I love me some Lamar Jackson. But if you wanted to see if we could go like DeAndre Hopkins and Lamar Jackson to go get Patrick Mahomes in this style league, I think that could also be intriguing overall. Going back to what we were talking about previously, it's primarily just based off the overall roster setting that we have here, where we're only able to roster 4 wide receivers, which will handicap us a ton. But long-term, this should be a very good team, even with the Aaron Rodgers injury, considering the fact that we have Jonathan Taylor coming in the long term. I think we can be excited about that. And we're really just kind of trying to stay alive until then, right? Because if we can go through and play Jonathan Taylor and then slide Garrett Wilson down to the bench, I think that could be interesting. Just going to be a very, very tough spot with Garrett Wilson. I don't want to understate it. Like we said, right now, Las Vegas sportsbooks have the New York Jets as the worst offense in the NFL this week. A lot of that has to do with the fact that they have a tough matchup going up against the Dallas Cowboys. But still, ultimately, at the end of the day, the downgrade from Aaron Rodgers to Zach Wilson is probably the largest downgrade you could find in the entire NFL from a starting quarterback to a backup quarterback. It's going to be a really nasty spot. Garrett Wilson's probably a low-end wide receiver 2 this week, probably a mid-wide receiver 2 long-term. You're on flockfantasy.com, my man, so you can go see our updated rankings with Garrett Wilson. And also, I just put out that video with Garrett Wilson talking about the ranking. Would love for you to watch that and give me any feedback that you have and if you think I'm too low on Wilson going forward. But I think that's all I have for you with this team. Again, thank you so much, my man, for being a member of the flock. I really hope that I was able to help you out in some way. And of course, if there's any way that I can ever improve flockfantasy.com for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. I'd be super happy to help you out in any way that I can. And yeah, thank you so much for everything, my friend. Really, really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day and really hope we get to see you out in a live stream sometime soon. Now, let's head over to our next team here. It's going to be coming out from Dave. Dave, thank you, my man. And actually, before we get to this, we're 1 like away from hitting 200 likes on this live stream. Make sure you go down there and drop a like on the stream if you have not done so already, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, if you want your team broken down on a podcast a live stream like this or a personalized podcast, make sure you go sign up for flockfantasy.com, promo code FLOCK. Going to get 30% off any subscription, and yours truly can go through and break down your team in depth. I can do a way, way, way better job like this than I can if you just donate during a stream. Now, Dave said, hey, Mason, just became a mother flocker and super excited for the season. Had the 7th pick in my standard 12-team full PPR 4-point passing touchdown league. Also included the draft. What are your thoughts and recommendations for improvements? I appreciate your time and effort for the content. Side note, the Cam Newton round 16 pick was a bet. Panthers fan until the end. Love to see it, my man. Love to see it. But nonetheless, this is going to be that 12-team league, ESPN, where we only have one flex spot. So a couple different things that we need to be adjusting in a league with only one flex and only 2 wide receivers. We are going to go ahead and we are going to be pushing up the importance of an elite level quarterback, of an elite running back, and of an elite tight end. Fundamentally, in a league like this, wide receiver depth is not going to be important. Guys like Hollywood Brown are going to be so easy to come by, and ultimately at the end of the day, we shouldn't really be rostering too many wide receivers down there on the bottom end of our bench. Now, we have Josh Allen in your QB1. Obviously, Allen last night, my friend, didn't look good, but by no means should we go out there and panic with Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to be completely fine. I mean, at the end of the day, this is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, particularly one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy. We saw that he was willing to go out there and run the ball yesterday. We know he's going to air it out as well. Really like him in a 4-point passing touchdown format because we have the rushing upside. And honestly, the game against the Jets, super hard to take anything away from, just knowing that the Jets have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, what I really like about having Josh Allen is we're not going to have to go through and roster a backup quarterback, right? I mean, we can just focus it on running back upsides shots down there on the bench. And yeah, looking at the bench here, we do not have a backup quarterback. Love to see that, my man. And please, by no means should we be going through and panicking on Josh Allen based off last night. Now, going over to our running backs, we're going to be sitting with Bijan Robinson and Miles Sanders in the starting lineup. I mean, with Bijan and Sanders, they both split their respective backfields in the first week. I'm definitely much more worried about Miles Sanders in what we saw, considering the fact that if you are looking at Sanders, I mean, Chuba Hubbard had pretty much every single third down in this offense, while at the same time, if we are going to be looking at Bijan Robinson, it was his first NFL game ever, right? So by no means am I going to go out there and panic about the Tyler Algier usage. I think Bijan Robinson is going to be just fine, my friend. And then going down to the bench, we have Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams, obviously, nice short-term option. Khalil Herbert's also another running back that I'm very much worried about. We have Tank Bigsby and Deion Jackson. If we're going to be looking to sell any of these RBs, I think based off the depth that we have here, we could afford to potentially go ahead and see what we could get for Khalil Herbert. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, you'd have Roschon Johnson coming out and seeing the bulk of the passing down work for the Chicago Bears. And it was Roschon Johnson's first NFL game ever, right? So if Roschon's going to go out there and Roschon's going to get that type of usage, day one, I do expect that Khalil Herbert kind of fades to the background through the course of the season, especially if we look at the fact that you have Deonta Foreman still getting involved in this offense. And right now, it's a 3-man running back by committee. So if you wanted to see if we could go out there and trade Khalil Herbert and DJ Moore and go get a long-term upgrade at either wide receiver or running back for the flex, I think that would be a very interesting move. I mean, I think we probably hold on to Miles Sanders. Everybody knows the situation that he's kind of in right now. While at the same time, you said you were a lifelong Panthers fan. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's hold on to him. And then Bijan Robinson, like I said, by no means are we panicking with Bijan. Now going over to wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown. Hell yes. We have Amari as well. Now, Amari, obviously not a great week one, but Amari did get banged up. And at the end of the day, I mean, the Cleveland Browns just dominated Cincinnati, where they didn't really have to push the ball down the field with aggression in the second half. I mean, by no means should we expect that the game environment is the exact same going forward as what the Cleveland Browns were able to benefit from in week one. And Amari should get healthy. I think Amari will be fine. Just something to monitor. Now, going over to Romeo Doubs. Doubs looked great. Jordan Love looked great. Obviously, he was playing on a snap count according to what we heard going into the game. Just really hard to take too much away from the Green Bay Packers offense with no Christian Watson in a game where they blow out the Bears. And then outside of that, we have JSN. JSN, love the talent profile. Geno Smith didn't look that good. really hoping that Geno Smith can get better. I mean, at the end of the day, this is one of the best situations in the NFL. If we look at the 3 wide receiver set between DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, as well as Tyler Lockett, definitely fine holding on to Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? I mean, at this point, he's just kind of a not a waiver wire option, but he's a deep bench option that does have an elite level ceiling for the second half of the season, but we're not having to rely on him right now. And then the tight end in Tennessee actually played a considerable amount of snaps. He had a ton of usage. Very hard to take anything away from the Tennessee game, considering the fact that, I mean, Ryan Tannehill, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Tannehill looked horrendous. With Kyle Pitts, I'm going to be much more worried about Drake London than I will be Pitts, with the fact that, I mean, Atlanta is just simply not going to go out there and throw the ball. Like I was saying, I'm going to be more concerned on that front when it comes to London, because the threshold for a wide receiver to make a difference in fantasy football is going to be so much higher than the threshold for a tight end to make a difference. And Kyle Pitts did see a little bit more volume than Drake London. I believe Kyle Pitts ran the most routes on this team, tied with Drake London at 20. So by no means am I going to be panicking. I definitely think we have to be worried, and we definitely should roster 2 tight ends if Kyle Pitts is our main guy. But overall, my friend, I really do like this team. I think that we're going to get a bounce back from a couple of these names like Josh Allen in week 2. I think the primary thing that we just want to be doing is potentially trying to package together some of this depth by going through and packaging like Khalil Herbert and DJ Moore to go get a long-term upgrade at wide receiver. If we can, go get someone that we're going to be excited about for the flex spot each and every week, especially if we have like a depth piece like Jamal. I mean, we have Dion in the short term as well, maybe Jeff Wilson in the long term. And obviously, when we make that 2-for-1 deal, we are also going to be able to pick up an additional waiver wire player, because we will open up a roster spot at the same time. But I think that's all I have for you in this, my man. Thank you so much again for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. Really hope that we were able to help you out in some way here. I really hope you're able to get something from this. And as always, if there's anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, especially if there's any way that I can improve flockfantasy.com. But thank you. Really appreciate you, my man. And really hope that we get to see you out in a live stream sometime soon. Now, going over to our next question. Our next team. This one's coming out from Jack Turn. Says 12-team full PPR format. We drafted from the 11th spot. I have a trade offer where we receive Justin Fields and Chris Olave in exchange for Travis Etienne and Mike Williams. Should I go through with it? Trade expires tomorrow. So you sent this in on Saturday, my friend. I am very sorry that we're not getting this until Monday. I had a lot of these teams come in on Friday and Saturday, and I could have made the podcast on Saturday. What I felt, though, is it would have made a lot more sense for me to wait until Monday, Tuesday to get to these teams. That way we just had so much more data with what happened in week 1. That way we can just give much better, information, overall insights, and hopefully more helpful advice in general. So I am very sorry that we weren't able to help out with this in time, my friend. But nonetheless, we'll be excited to go through and check out this squad now. Before we talk about pretty much anything here, going back to what we were talking about with the previous team, the main thing that matters will be adjusting to our format, adjusting to our specific league settings. And this will be a league where we start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. So overall, similar to the team before this, wide receiver depth, not important. Since we only have 1 flex and 2 starting wide receivers, we'll always be able to find a wide receiver if we really need one. And what we're fundamentally going to look to do at the end of the day, every single time we go to make a trade, 2-for-1, 3-for-1 deals. Get the upgrade in the starting lineup. Going over to the bench right now, this is a bench where we currently are only having 7 guys down there at the bottom end. So there should be more than enough value on the waiver wire for us to continue to churn the bottom of the bench each and every week. But going to the starting lineup, we have Tua at quarterback. Obviously, Tua looked phenomenal week 1. And I'm sure we're hoping that we did not trade for Justin Fields based off what happened with Tua against the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm not going to sit here and act like Tua's in a spot where all of a sudden, we need to go through and we need to rank him as a top 5 quarterback every week going forward. You don't mention the overall scoring when it comes to the amount of points per passing touchdown. If it's a 6-point passing touchdown format, that's where I'm going to be really excited about Tua. Whereas in a 4-point passing touchdown league, there I'd be more excited about someone like Justin Fields going for the rushing upside. When we have Tua, I'm completely fine rostering a backup quarterback if we really want to. By no means do we have to, especially based off what we saw week 1. And we don't have a backup quarterback here. So if Tua were to go down, then at that point, we could just go to the waiver wire. We could just stream the position based off matchups. Now, going over to running backs, some of my favorite running backs this year. We have Bijan Robinson, Hooker Morris. We also have Travis Etienne in the starting lineup. Etienne expanded his role as a pass catcher week 1. I mean, everything you wanted to see from Travis Etienne, he ended up giving you this week against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Tank Bigsby did steal a rushing touchdown, but Bigsby also, fumbled. Bigsby also dropped a pass that led to an interception. So I'm not going to be super worried about Tank Bigsby going forward, if I'm going to be honest with you. I think that you're pretty much good to just lock in Travis Etienne as a must-start running back pretty much every single week at this point, especially in a full PPR format. And then going down to the bench, we have Brian Robinson, we have Zach Charbonnet, we have Elijah Mitchell, we have Devon Achane. Really, the only running back that was super disappointing on this team was Elijah Mitchell. And I drafted Elijah Mitchell in a lot of Underdog best ball tournaments. And my thought process was, okay, he's going to see a 30% workload even when Christian McCaffrey's healthy. And if CMC were to go down, then he has an elite level ceiling. Well, I was flat out wrong. Christian McCaffrey is like a prime version of himself from Carolina, just on a much better team. So, yeah, Elijah Mitchell, probably not going to be usable. Still fine rostering, though, because obviously he does give us the elite level ceiling if something were to occur to CMC. We just don't have any usable weeks with a healthy Christian McCaffrey in this offense. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper in the starting lineup. We have Christian Watson there in the flex. And then going down to the bench, we have Mike Williams, Hollywood Brown as well. So really like to see that we're only rostering 5 wide receivers. This is the number one thing that I see people doing wrong in a format like this, is they go through and they roster 7 guys. Down at the bottom of their team, they have players like Jalen Hyatt. They have players like Tank Dell. When ultimately they can only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, those guys really don't have the upside to actually move the needle and make a difference in your starting lineup. So really like how we are constructing the team here in particular. Now, with that being said, long-term, when we have a healthy Christian Watson, I think that we have more than enough depth to go out there and upgrade from the tight end position. Right now, we're currently sitting with Dalton Schultz and Cole Kmet. I'll definitely say we need to be rostering 2 tight ends if our top guy is Cole Kmet. Now, at the same time, whenever we're going to be looking at this, I still want to be churning the waiver wire. If we could go pick up Zach Ertz and maybe drop Kmet, I think that could be appealing based off the target share that Zach Ertz saw this week. But long-term, if we get Christian Watson back in and Christian Watson looks like a healthy guy and he's good to go every single week, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to see if we can take one of those depth wide receivers like Hollywood Brown, trade him with our starting tight end to go get an upgrade at the position, just because at that point, we would be able to afford it. But outside of that, love the team, my friend. It's going to be very hard to make any waiver wire moves because we really don't want to cut any of these guys right now. I would say if we were going to cut a player, the guy that we would look to move on from would be Devon Achane. Healthy scratch week 1. Now, of course, with that being said, the man was injured. The man had that shoulder injury he was dealing with both in the preseason as well as training camp. So for a rookie, it's not the most surprising thing to see that he is a healthy scratch. I don't want to be cutting Devon Achane right this week. If he is a scratch again next week, then at that point, I think that for sure we can go ahead and let go of him. But again, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. I really hope that we were able to help you out in some way with this podcast. I really hope you're able to get something from it. And as always, if there's anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. Be super happy to help you out in any way that I can, especially if there's any way I can improve flockfantasy.com. But thank you again for everything, my friend. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope we get to see you out in a live stream sometime soon. Now, let's move over to our next team. This one coming out from Horizon. And as we move down here, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to, we've already hit 400 likes on this live stream. If y'all enjoy me doing these on the actual stream rather than me just doing these on personalized podcasts, usually I just do these personalized podcasts, not live streaming them. Make sure you drop a like. Let me know if y'all enjoy these, then I can do this a little bit more often. And then, of course, if you want to get your team broken down, join flockfantasy.com, promo code FLOCK. You can find the link in the live chat description comment section. Promo code FLOCK in the Mother Flocker tier is going to get you 30% off any subscription. Plus, yours truly will break down your fantasy football team when you join. Plus, all my rankings, articles, premium Discord chat, bonus content. It's all going to be over there. Plus, we have so many of your favorite fantasy football creators over there as well. Okay. Now, going over to our next team, coming out from Horizon, says 10-team full BBR. We drafted 4th. We dropped Romeo Doubs for Jamal Williams before Sunday's game. Great move. We have Tyler Algier, Joshua Kelly off the waiver wire for Dobbins and Gibson. Agree with that. How can we improve this team, and who do we start in the flex week 2? Well, my man, thank you so much for being a member of the flock. Going to be really happy to go through and check this team out for you. But nonetheless, this will be a league where we actually have 2 flex spots. So really like to see that we at least have a little bit of balance here. Now, depth is not going to be the most important thing ever in this format, just because while we do have 2 flex spots, it's still only a 10-team league. So if it's only going to be a 10-team league, I mean, wide receiver depth, still not going to be the biggest deal in the world. We still want to be chasing players, if we can, that have a high ceiling overall. Now, with that being said, we do have Joe Burrow at quarterback. Obviously, week 1, brutal. This is a team that had Joe Burrow. This is a team that had J.K. Dobbins. So even if we got a massive blow-up spot from Tyreek Hill, still don't necessarily know if we won week 1. Hopefully did. But, I mean, at the end of the day, if we were sitting with, Drake London, Joe Burrow, as well as J.K. Dobbins, I'd imagine it would have been pretty damn hard for us to be able to win our week, even if we had Tyreek Hill coming through for us. But nonetheless, at quarterback, by no means am I going to panic, my man. You're in a really good spot. I think Joe Burrow is going to bounce back. If you're looking at implied Vegas team totals for this next week, right now, Las Vegas sportsbooks have the Cincinnati Bengals as a top 5 offense in the NFL against the Baltimore Ravens in week 2. They have the Cincinnati Bengals favored by 3.5 points in this contest. So yeah, I still view Burrow as a quarterback you're going to start every single week. By no means am I going to be worried about him. And at the same time, we don't need to roster a backup quarterback here either. If Burrow gives you another dud, then at that point, possibly we go out there and roster a backup. But yeah, now if we're looking at the bench, we don't have one. And I honestly do agree with that, my friend. Now, going over to running back, we have Pollard and J.K. Dobbins. So good news, Pollard looked great, right? The Dallas Cowboys defense looked great. They're probably going to be able to run the ball a ton this next season. Bad news, we have no Dobbins long-term. Good news is now we have the depth. We have Tyler Algier. Not only do we have Algier, but we pick up Joshua Kelly for the potential Austin Eckler injury. And if Eckler were to miss, then at that point, Joshua Kelly is a must-start player. And we have Dameon Pierce down there with Jamal Williams on top of it. So yes, it sucks losing J.K. Dobbins, but we have done a phenomenal job to go through and backfill our running back depth here. And ultimately, I think we are going to be just fine. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have Tyreek Hill. Obviously, we're sitting pretty with Tyreek. Based off what you saw in week 1, you kind of want to believe that Tyreek Hill will be the number 1 or number 2 overall wide receiver in fantasy this next season. And then going over to T. Higgins, yeah, we got another dud. We got another 0-point performance from T. Higgins here. Super brutal week in week 1. But going back to what we were talking about previously, I'm not worried about this Cincinnati Bengals offense. Fundamentally, you have to ask yourself, okay, is Joe Burrow now bad? Is Joe Burrow a below average quarterback at the NFL level? That is not something I believe. That is not something that I think. So I'm completely fine betting on the Cincinnati Bengals bounce back between the combination of Joe Burrow and T. Higgins. T. Higgins still had 8 targets this past week. Now, on the other hand, the other wide receiver that gave us a goose egg in Drake London, I very much am worried about because this is an offense that we were very worried about the overall passing volume from. And you only run 20 routes if you're Drake London. You have a total of 0 fantasy points. So yeah, until further notice, London's not going to be startable. We have some depth down there on the bench with Odell Beckham Jr. and Hollywood Brown. Tight end, we currently have Tyler Higbee and Freiermuth. Both tight ends look like they're in great spots, right? In the case of Tyler Higbee, you have no Cooper Kupp. Not only in the case of Higbee with no Kupp, with Freiermuth, you have no Deontay Johnson. So both these tight ends should see the overall expanded target share that you're looking for, specifically in a full PPR format. Even if they don't have a ton of touchdown upside, they're going to be just fine. So yeah, really happy with where we are at tight ends. Now, if we're going to be submitting a starting lineup this week, quarterback, Joe Burrow, duh. Running back, Tony Pollard. Tough matchup against the Jets, but still you're clearly starting him. Then our other running back options to choose from will be Joshua Kelly with Austin Eckler, and without Austin Eckler, we'll talk about both scenario. We will also have the possibility of Dameon Pierce. We have the possibility of, I believe, Tyler Algier. And that's about it, unless I'm missing someone. I don't think I'm missing someone. I think if Austin Eckler were to play, we are going to go Dameon Pierce. If Austin Eckler were to miss, can I have everybody spam this in the live chat right now? Help us out. If Austin Eckler does not play this next week, do you go ahead and do you play Joshua Kelly, or do you still stick with Dameon Pierce? Pierce will be going up against the Indianapolis Colts, whereas Joshua Kelly would be going up against the Tennessee Titans. So please let me know in the live chat. You got Kelly. I'm happy to see you, Isaiah. Pierce, Kelly. Kelly, Pierce, Kelly. Yeah, looks like most people would go Joshua Kelly in that instance, my friend. Going over to wide receiver, we go Tyreek, T. Higgins. We don't think about it. Going down to the 2 flexes, I think that we're going to go with Dameon Pierce. How about this? Let's just say Dameon Pierce at RB2 regardless, right? If Eckler were to miss, then we're going to go Joshua Kelly for one of these flex spots. And if Eckler were to play, then at that point, I think we probably end up having to pivot over to Hollywood Brown. While I hate to say it, while it is a gross situation overall, I don't think we can play Drake London over Hollywood this next week. Can I ask the live chat this as well? Are you going to go Drake London or Hollywood Brown in week 2? Of course, this is under the circumstance that Austin Eckler plays, and we are not able to put Joshua Kelly in there at your second flex spot. If Eckler were to miss, then in that case, obviously, we would go ahead and we would put Joshua Kelly in there at RB2. Yeah, it looks like everybody's going to go Hollywood over London as well. We have a couple Drake Londons mixed in here, but overwhelmingly, it looks like we have Hollywood Brown as the guy. Someone says cut London. I'm not going to go as far as saying cut Drake London. I think we'd cut Odell Beckham Jr. before London, but definitely don't want to play Odell. If he wasn't viable with no Mark Andrews, I don't necessarily know if we can start him anytime soon. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. I really hope, actually, no, I'm an idiot. We had Jamal Williams on this team. Go ahead and play Jamal. We're going to play Jamal over Hollywood Brown. Jamal Williams is going to be a locked and loaded starter regardless, even if Miller does play here. But again, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. I really hope that we are able to help you out in some way here. I really hope you're able to get something from this. And as always, if there's anything I can do for you, especially any way I can improve flockfantasy.com for you, don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. I'd be really happy to help you out in any way that I can. And yeah, thank you so much for everything. Really appreciate you, my man. Now, our next team is going to be coming out from Big Route. Thank you, my man, for being a member of the flock. Going to be really happy to look into this. But real quick, let me be clear with everybody who is maybe new on flockfantasy.com and wants their team broken down. What you need to do is you need to click the Discord link. You can find that on both your account page as well as the very top of flockfantasy.com. Just hit join Discord and it will link your flockfantasy.com account with your Discord account. This is where our group chat is. And then there you will go ahead and get the roster submissions tab unlocked for Mason's flock. So then you can go ahead and you can send your team in roster submissions. I'll break it down in either a personalized podcast or a live stream like this. And then I'll send you a direct DM where the link is to view it, the timestamps it's at, or just the straight up personalized podcast where you can just view it. Listen to it straight up from Discord. But that's only going to be promo code FLOCK, Mother Flocker package on flockfantasy.com. But anyway, Big Rat says, what's up, Mason? Any suggestions for the team? Again, thank you, my friend. Going to be really happy to look into it. And here at quarterback, we are currently rolling with Lamar Jackson. This is going to be a league where we only start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. So yeah, overall, wide receiver depth, not going to matter. Really, the primary thing is let's make sure we get an elite level QB. Let's make sure that we get in elite level tight ends. And then we can go through and we can dominate at the onesie positions and we can just find easy wide receiver depth off the waiver wire in a format like this. But nonetheless, really like Lamar, especially if it's a 4-point passing touchdown format, because obviously in a 4-point passing touchdown league, there we're going ahead and we are going to be bumping up quarterbacks with overall rushing upside in comparison to that 6-point passing touchdown format where we would prefer the quarterbacks that could go out there and air the ball out with volume. Going over to the bench, we don't need a backup quarterback whenever we have Lamar Jackson. We don't have a backup quarterback. Love to see it, my man. Love to see it. Start Lamar every week. Now, going over to running back, we're currently sitting with Joe Mixon and Travis Etienne in the starting lineup. Beautiful. Top 12 running backs on both fronts. I think both running backs are guys that are going to be in great offenses. Obviously, in the case of Joe Mixon, wasn't a great spot this week, but that wasn't the fault of Mixon himself. That was more so the fault of Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals offense. I fundamentally don't believe that Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals will be a below average NFL offense this next season. I think that they will be a great offense. I think Burrow had to just knock a couple rust off the calf strain, while at the same time, it's week 1, any given Sunday. I think we're going to be a great spot at running back. Obviously, we lose some depth with J.K. Dobbins. We lose some more depth with DeAndre Swift not looking startable. At least we have Raheem Mostert in the short term. We have Tank Bigsby there as well. With Bigsby, I mean, honestly, with this team as well, you have Travis Etienne. The hope is we never have to use Bigsby. The hope is Bigsby never has a role, but I definitely agree this is probably someone that we want to roster. But we are going to look to drop J.K. Dobbins. Based off the overall depth of this league, I would be surprised if either Tyler Algier or Kenneth Gainwell were available to you currently. So because those guys will most likely be gone off your waiver wire already, then we're going to go ahead and we will look at Joshua Kelly and Kyron Williams as those other top 2 running backs that we would look to add, my friend. But going over to wide receiver, we're sitting with Jefferson. We have Amari in the starting lineup as well. Not too worried about Amari. Super weird game against Cincinnati, where at the same time, the man did have to go into the medical tent for a little bit. I mean, thought it was a serious injury with Amari. He ended up being fine. He ended up playing the rest of the game, but he was kind of going in and out. I think we'll get a much better sense on this, both Browns offense as well as Amari Cooper role this next week. Now, over there on the bench, we have Christian Kirk. We have Zay Flowers. We have Nico Collins and Jonathan Mingo. So the primary thing that I'd be looking to change, especially now that we have the Zay Flowers breakout with Lamar Jackson, love to see that stack. The primary thing I would want to change is I would want to go ahead and drop one of these wide receivers at the very bottom end of this roster to pick up a little bit of additional running back depth now that we lose J.K. Dobbins. I think that we're going to be looking to drop Jonathan Mingo. I think we're going to be looking to drop J.K. Dobbins, pick up multiple running backs off the waiver wire, because while Raheem Mostert looks pretty damn good and he looks like he can be a fill-in right now, what happens if this team does decide to go out there and address the running back position this season? What happens when they get Jeff Wilson Jr. back week 5? What happens if all of a sudden Devon Achane is actually going through and having a role in this offense? I mean, there are some concerns that you have, obviously, with Mostert in the long run. Short run, he's great. Short run, he has the role. But I just definitely want to be bolstering our running back depth overall where we can. And I don't necessarily think that we're going to be looking to make a trade because, I mean, the wide receivers obviously want to hold on to Jefferson. Not going to get a lot of value for Amari Cooper right now. Going over to tight end, we're currently sitting with Dallas Goedert. On the bench, we definitely can roster a backup tight end if you want. If you really wanted to drop, say, J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Mingo, and if you only had one interesting running back we can pick up off the waiver wire, and Zach Ertz is out there as well, you could pick up a backup tight end. I am going to believe that Dallas Goedert does bounce back this week. I need to believe it because I've drafted Dallas Goedert in a lot of spots overall, my friend. I'm trying to think if there are any trades that make sense on this team. The fundamental issue is you're never going to get any value by trading away someone like Christian Kirk. I don't want to trade Zay Flowers when we have Lamar Jackson on the team. So instead of trying to address the running back hole that we have now with no J.K. Dobbins, I think that we'll probably be better off to just turn the bottom into this bench, pick up some high upside waiver wire options at the running back position in particular, and try to solve the issue that way rather than going ahead and rather than making any wild trade where we're going out and trying to sell Justin Jefferson for Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I don't necessarily think that's the easiest road to go down. But I think that's all I have for you in this podcast. Again, thank you, my friend, for being a member of the flock and supporting the channel. As always, if there's anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. I'll be super happy to help you out in any way that I can, especially any way that I can improve flockfantasy.com for you. And yeah, last but not least, I really hope you have a great day, my friend. I really hope that we get to see you out in a live stream sometime soon. Now, let's go ahead. Let's slide down to our next team. This one will be coming out from K-Free. But let me answer this question one more time. Probably be the last time we answer this. Vincent says, how do I submit my lineup? Okay, first step. Sign up for flockfantasy.com. Promo code FLOCK, Mother Flocker package. 30% off any sub. Plus, you get your team broken down just like this. And also, all the premium content we have on flockfantasy.com. I just uploaded my top 150 rankings and tiers there. Second thing is, once you sign up to flockfantasy.com, promo code FLOCK, Mother Flocker tier, you then go ahead, you join the Discord. You can find that link both on your account page on flockfantasy.com or at the very top of the site. And then you go ahead and you send your team in the roster submissions tab here, my friend. Try to include as much information as you can. If you can include the waiver wire, if you can include the league settings, that would be great because I would just allow me to help you out so much more, my friend. So please, if you're going to submit your team, ladies and gentlemen, try to give me as much information as you possibly can. That way I can go through and give you the best podcast and give you the best advice that I can as well. Now, K-Free coming out. Thank you again, my man, for being a member of the flock, saying 12-team full BBR format. Any trades I need to make or suggestions overall? Well, thank you again, my friend. And this will be a league where we're starting 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex. So going back to what we were previously discussing, in this kind of format, ladies and gentlemen, wide receiver depth doesn't matter. Grab a couple top running backs, grab an elite QB, grab a tight end that we like. Wide receiver depth, fundamentally at the end of the day, is not going to move the needle. This is not the kind of league we want to be rostering 7 wide receivers in. Now, with that being said, we have Justin Fields in there at quarterback. With Fields, I'm going to maintain what we've said all offseason. I think that he's going to be a great fantasy football option in 4-point passing touchdown leagues because of his overall rushing upside. I think in a 4-point passing touchdown format, we can be excited about the rushing upside that Justin Fields provides, whereas in a 6-point passing touchdown league, Fields probably not going to be the best guy just because those other players that can actually throw the ball and rack up passing yards and passing touchdowns can honestly probably catch Justin Fields, where it's going to be so much harder in a 4-point passing touchdown format for them. Now, we don't need to roster a backup quarterback when we have Justin Fields. This is someone that we can start regardless of matchup. Going down to the bench, we have Geno Smith. If you really wanted to hold on to Geno Smith, we can. My man, Geno didn't look great week 1, but I mean, he has Kenneth Walker, he has Zach Charbonnet, he has Metcalf, he has JSN, he has Tyler Lockett, he has a good coaching staff. There's really no reason for Geno Smith to not succeed this next season. He was put into like the best situation imaginable. Now, going over to running back, we have Tony Pollard, Kenneth Walker inside the starting lineup. Down on the bench, we have Jonathan Taylor for the long term. We have DeAndre Swift, who at this point is just, an intriguing name, but nothing more. And then that's it. So overall, this team's lacking running back depth. Obviously, long term, we get Jonathan Taylor in here. We're going to be sitting pretty. We'll have running back 1 locked and loaded. We'll have 2 potential running back 1s with upside with Kenneth Walker and Jonathan Taylor. So we're definitely waiting for JT to come back in the long term. In the short term, I really don't want to be sitting in the situation that we are now, because if we go over to wide receiver, we are elite at wide receiver, my man. And this is a phenomenal team. This does not look like it's a 12-team format. It looks like you lied to us with how big this league is. This looks a lot closer to like a 10-team, maybe even an 8-team league than a 12-team format. But wide receiver, we are elite at the top. We have Stephon Diggs, we have Jalen Waddle, and we are also rostering Christian Kirk, Drake London, Jordan Addison, Michael Thomas, and Gabriel Davis. So the fundamental issue that we have with this team here in particular is that we have the elite level wide receivers, but we're still rostering, 7 of them? Gabe Davis, Michael Thomas, Addison, London, Kirk, Waddle, Diggs. Whereas we only have 3 viable running backs at the moment, and one of them with DeAndre Swift may not even be viable. This is the kind of roster construction we want if you start 3 wide receivers and maybe have 2 flex spots. Would love that, my friend. But here I think this is a league where we are going to go out there and we are going to try to trade a wide receiver with a running back to go get a running back upgrade somewhere. If that is trading Michael Thomas and DeAndre Swift to get a slightly better running back in return, let's do it. If that is trading Michael Thomas and Christian Kirk to go get a running back that we like, that we feel like we can start every single week, like Alexander Madison, let's do it. And then on the opposite end, when we open up that roster spot, I would still probably bring in another RB. So say we trade Michael Thomas and DeAndre Swift, we get to a running back that we're very excited about. Then at that point, we have the open up roster spot and we pick up a running back. Then we are rostering at RB, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Walker, the upgraded version of DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, and the guy we picked up off the waiver wire. So we have 5 RBs and then only 6 wide receivers in that instance. In a format like this, I think that's going to be a much more well-balanced team. And overall, if you wanted to at that open roster spot, we could pick up a tight end. I still personally want to believe in Dallas Goedert. I want to believe that Goddard will still be effective for us in fantasy. But with that being said, it's hard to know for sure if that's going to happen, right? Ultimately, he did have 0 points this week. I drafted him everywhere. I'm really hoping that Goddard is good on Thursday night. But if you really wanted to roster a backup tight end there, we can, my man, we can. But I think that's all we have for you in this podcast. Thank you again so much, my man, for being a member of the flock. And as always, if there's anything that I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and let me know. I'd be super happy to help you out any way that I can, especially any way that I can improve flockfantasy.com for you. Thank you again for everything. My friend, I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope that we get to see you out in the live stream sometime soon. Okay. But let's go ahead and let's dive into our next team. This one coming out from Mason. And as we get into this, we just hit 700 likes on this live stream. We have over 2,000 people watching. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the stream. Let's get it over 1,000 likes. And like I said, if y'all, and please let me know in the live chat right now. Do you care about these live streams? Do you like seeing these teams broken down this way? I mean, I'm doing this every single day regardless. I feel like maybe it makes sense for me to do it on the live stream sometimes, personalized podcast others. If y'all really do enjoy this type of content, let me know. And like I said, I'm doing this every single day. I could turn this into a daily live stream if y'all really like it. If y'all really like it. Okay, we got a no, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, looks like most people like it. So I'll try to do this more often on the live stream instead of just in personalized podcast. LOG says, can I donate to ask? I'm sorry, right now we are not accepting donations. When I'm going through and looking at teams from members of flockfantasy.com, this has to be my number one priority. I can't be looking at their team and then jumping over to a donation question. We'll have a donation live stream tonight if you want to ask your question there. But yeah, during these streams, we're going to have donations cut off because I just want to focus in on these teams. But Mason coming out again. Thank you so much, man. Saying, hey, thanks for the help crafting in these teams. If you can only do one team review, please go over the Sleeper Dynasty team. Both leagues are a happy BR format. The Sleeper League has 12 members. The ESPN one has 10. Okay, so first thing being, let's go ahead and let's get the ESPN one underway. A little bit of an easier screenshot for us to look at, my man. But this is going to be a 10-team league where we only have, 2 flex spots. So it is a little bit of a more well-balanced league. I'd say a 10-team league where we start 2 wide receivers and 2 flexes. It's very similar to a 12-team format where we have 1 flex. Similar to a 12-team league where we only have 1. But nonetheless, love to freaking see this at the top. We have the elite level quarterback. We have Mahomes. Ultimately, yes, Mahomes wasn't great against the Detroit Lions, but you had no Kelsey. Going forward, I think Patrick Mahomes will still be a top 3 quarterback locked and loaded in fantasy. Don't really think too many people disagree with that. When we have Mahomes, we're not going to have to roster a backup quarterback either, and we should be in a very good position overall. Going down to the bench, we don't have a backup quarterback. Perfect. We're prioritizing high upside running backs and wide receivers. Going into the starting lineup, we have Christian McCaffrey and Pollard at RB. This does not look possible, my man. I have no idea how the hell we got Pollard falling far enough in the second round where we were able to pair him up with CMC. And I want to be on record and fully admit I was drafting Jamar Chase as well as Tyreek Hill over Christian McCaffrey this season. And that was a massive mistake. Even taking Tyreek Hill, who looked great week 1, over Christian McCaffrey was a big time mistake, ladies and gentlemen. If you are looking at what we ended up getting from the Christian McCaffrey workload this week, CMC went out there and CMC had 90% of the work in a top 5 NFL offense. Christian McCaffrey is going to crush, and I repeat, crush this season. Pollard looked great as well. Obviously, you like the Dallas Cowboys defense being good. They can run the ball consistently in the second half. We have Brian Robinson, who took over Antonio Gibson as the starter on that front. Going down to the bench, we have Jalen Warren, who's now splitting 50-50 with Najee Harris. Elite running back room. Going over to wide receiver, we have Metcalf, Mike Williams. We also have Deontay Johnson. So we lose Deontay. Metcalf, I am a little bit worried about Geno. And then going down to the bench, we have Brandon Cooks, Rashad Bateman, Drake London, where we should be worried, but at least we get the breakout for Jordan Addison. This is why we want to have that elite level quarterback, why we want to have that elite level tight end, so we can just roster as many running backs and wide receivers on the bench. That way, whenever we lose out on Deontay Johnson, whenever Drake London flames out, ultimately, we are in a spot where we are extremely comfortable with our depth and are able to backfill very easily with this team. Now, going over to what we have at tight ends, Taysom in the lineup obviously grows, but more importantly, we have Mark Andrews. Andrews, when he is healthy, we'll be able to start him every single week. Don't need a backup. I love this team. There are no changes I want to make with trades or waiver wire. I think you're in a great spot. But let me go ahead and let's look into this Dynasty team here, my friend. And I will see if we can get this shared with everybody on the live stream as well. Just give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably going to look gross for everybody, but give me a sec and we will move this around. Okay, perfect. So this is going to be a Dynasty League where we have 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 3 flexes, and a super flex. So overall, pretty well balanced Dynasty League. You were saying that this is a 12-team league. We have the elite level quarterbacks with Jalen Hurts as well as Anthony Richardson in Dynasty. These are cornerstone guys. I mean, we can go through and we can start them every single week regardless of matchup this season where they help us as contenders, but also their long-term value is not going anywhere. So you're in a very comfortable position with their long-term value. We have Kenny Pickett kind of as in Brock Purdy. So we are sitting pretty at quarterback, right? We're never really going to need QB production. I mean, regardless of if it's the short term or long term. Going over to RB, we have Kenneth Walker. We have James Cook in the starting lineup. Going down to the bench, we currently are sitting with, Kenneth Gainwell looks like he may be viable, but that's about it. We are a little bit thin on running back depth. Let me double check to make sure this is a full PPR format. Okay, so you're saying this is a half PPR league. A little bit more inclined to punt RB in a full PPR format. But wide receiver, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devonta Smith in the starting lineup. We have Jordan Addison, Bateman in the flexes. We have Donovan Peoples-Jones. Honestly, very rarely do I give this advice in a Dynasty Superflex league. I guess we have Christian Watson, and this is an extremely shallow bench here, my man. So we actually will be able to make moves on the waiver wire, which is not typical for a Dynasty format. We have Greg Dulcich, who's going to be missing time as well. Going back to our backup tight end, we don't even have one, so we're going to have to go through and we're going to have to pick up another guy. We don't have a future first, so we are heavily inclined to go through and try to compete this season. Generally, I think what we are trying to do right now with this team is atypical what I typically want to do with a Dynasty Superflex format, specifically like this. But when we have the shallower bench, when we're going to need to go ahead and take Christian Watson off the IR, as well as upgrade Puka, what we're probably going to end up needing to do is drop Michael Carter, probably drop Tutu Atwell. I'd probably rather have Sean Tucker. But then we really aren't going to be able to make too many trades. So specifically because this is a shallower starting lineup, and we're going to need to go pick up another tight end as well, so we'd have to drop someone else. I think this is one of those very rare instances, especially when we have the elite level quarterbacks, that we could potentially take a quarterback like Sam Howell, who I don't necessarily want to say is locked and loaded to a starting job in 2024, with another depth piece, maybe like Greg Dulcich, and go get a tight end that we like in the long term. Maybe see if we can go get like Kyle Pitts. Maybe see if we can, and we're not going to get Hawkinson, but we can buy low on someone like Kyle Pitts. Maybe get Hawkinson if we throw in a future second or throw in a lesser piece at wide receiver. But I think that's all I have for you. And again, thank you so much, my friend, for being a member of the flock. Sorry that it took us too long to get to this team. I know you had a little bit of confusion in getting in it for us. So that's 100% on me. I'm very sorry about that, my friend. And as always, if there's anything I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I wish I could have said a little bit more with those teams, but obviously they are both in very good situations. But thank you again for everything, my friend. Really do appreciate you, and really hope we get to see you out in a live stream sometime soon. But I think this should probably be it for this stream. I'm probably going to spend like the next hour breaking down these teams in podcast. Then I'll be live streaming later tonight answering your fantasy football questions. But of course, if you want to get your team sent in for a roster submission grade, make sure you go join the Discord on flockfantasy.com. You can find the link on your account page as well as the very top of flockfantasy.com where you see the little icon. It's like a little blue looking guy. Click it. It will link your flockfantasy.com account with your Discord account. It will unlock the roster submission tab here for you in Mason's Flock. I'll get that done for you. I'll send it over with a DM. But yeah, I think that's all I have. Again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with us here. It's not too late. Still join flockfantasy.com. Just uploaded my top 150 rest of season rankings and tiers. Plus, we have Garrett Wilson update video over there on the homepage. Promo code FLOCK for 30% off any subscription. Plus, you will get your team broken down by yours truly with promo code FLOCK in the Mother Flocker tier. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day, and really hope I get to see you in the live stream in about 2.5 hours.